A dog barks when his master is attacked. I would be a coward if I saw that God's truth is attacked and yet would remain silent. John Calvin.
Telling a woman that she can't be an elder is a nonsense rule.
If they claim to be in the body, we let them have it.
Donald Trump is going to win in 2020 by an absolute landslide.
Heretics Christianizing the American dream.
I said that that many LDS folks and I love the same Jesus. I still believe that.
Sowing is a blessing from God to make you rich.
Treating Jesus like a lottery ticket.
The Lord spoke to my heart. Been very few times I've ever heard God be this articulate with me. And I'm telling you word for word, these words came into my heart. I'm not asking you with me. I'm asking you to brush your hair.
Rebuke sharply, that's what God commanded.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Master's Dog False Teacher of the Week, episode 90. Mike was just a little bit hot there. I'm your host, Norm, the Master's Dog Dunham, a.k.a. the Evangelical Norm. So, False Teacher of the Week podcast is a podcast I do dealing with false teachers. It came out of the old introduction video for the old Master's Dog intro video, which was a 2.5 minute montage of false teachers, pictures, and videos set to a really cool song called No Compromise by Result, used by permission. Thank you, Result. And somebody came to me and said, hey, I don't know who all these people are. Some of them I thought might be okay. Could you kind of break it down for us so we know who's what and what they are and why they are false teachers? So I started with Stephen Furtick, which is who she specifically asked about, and then I systematically went through the entire video of teachers and so on. I think I added one or two that weren't originally in there, but did all these up to episode 39. Then I revamped the intro video, cut it down to about a minute, a little over a minute, so you don't have to endure a 2.5 minute introduction, but you still do, because here I am introducing. So at that point, it was 5 minutes. Hey, right? So, and made it a little more versatile so I can take and put video clips in, take video clips out, change it all up, put more people in there, and so on, as you guys suggest false teachers and stuff to me. So there's a little background for those people who are new. Continue to get more and more subscribers, so we're slowly bumping up the numbers. That's because of you guys who like, share, comment on the videos. That makes Mr. Algorithm, and yes, I was calling him that long before Space Jam ever did, to make the video more available for other people who might like to hear it. So please continue to do that. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, get all the stuff that I release here on the Evangelical Norm Network. I won't ask you to like the video until the end because you haven't seen the video yet, so you don't know if you like it. But comments, all that stuff helps, really helps the channel. So please keep doing that, and then I don't have to search for false teachers if you give me your suggestions. So that brings us to this week's false teacher. And yes, I understand. I'm a day late. Saturday was just weird day for me, and a lot of stuff, a lot of ministry opportunities, and trying to get some stuff straight with starting a new part-time job and so on. So thank you for bearing with me. Here we are, at the end of a Sunday with our False Teacher of the Week episode, but better late than never, right? So this week we are going to talk about a man named Mike Bickle, a man that I have actually met, shook his hand while I was a vineyard pastor. I wouldn't say we know each other. I mean, he probably still has, probably an hour later, had no idea who I was. So, but I've been in the same room. I've heard this man speak. I've because again, he was, I don't know if he was actually, when I met him at a vineyard conference, if he was actually still part. I don't know if IHOP and that, ministry, I don't even know what the name of the church there in Kansas is anymore, if they're still part of the vineyard or not. I don't know if they were at that time or not, but he was there, and it was kind of a big deal. Everybody was wanting to shake his hand, because here again, this is a guy that was part of the Kansas City Prophets. This was a guy that has been, kind of well known throughout different movements and so on from the late 70s. And maybe even earlier than that. I'm not sure exactly when his ministry and stuff began, but we'll take a look, because we're going to talk about this guy. So let's jump into his stuff. And if I can find his website, MikeBickle.org. There we go. I always like to give you their comments on who they say they are. So I like to go, if they have a website or something like that, then I take you to their About section and let them kind of give their own bio. So this is his bio. Mike Bickle is the founder of the International House of Prayer Missions Base of Kansas City, an evangelical mission organization based on 24/7 prayer with worship that is engaged in many evangelistic and inner city outreaches, along with multiple justice initiatives, planting houses of prayer, and training missionaries. The International House of Prayer has continued in nonstop prayer led by worship teams since September 19th, 1999, and is committed to combining 24/7 prayer for justice with 24/7 works of justice. Around 1,500 people, staff members, students, and interns, serve full-time on the mission base, investing 50 hours per week in the prayer room. I think that's 50 FTY. It's a typo. Classroom and ministry outreaches. Mike is also the founder of the International House of Prayer University, which includes a full-time Bible school, music school, and media school. He's the author of several books, including Passion for Jesus, Growing in the Prophetic. Prophetic. Almost sounded like I said pathetic, which is probably a Freudian slip. The Pleasures of Loving God, After God's Own Heart, and Prayers to Strengthen Your Inner Man. Mike's teachings emphasize growing in passion for Jesus through intimacy with God, doing evangelism and missions work from the place of night and day prayer and the end times. So there you get just a little bit of who Mike is, of his own description. And here's the thing. Well, let's get out of the way the first things first. All the different controversies that have gone on in this area. And again, we understand that the Toronto blessing, he was definitely involved in that. He's very much aligned with Bethel and Bill Johnson out there. But back in the day, and I don't know when, I want to say the 90s to late 90s, there were two different, or one man that was a part of the prophets, the Kansas City prophets, Paul Cain, who apparently got involved in some stuff, and I think he came out as gay and stuff like that. So those are the scandalous things, right? The scandals. He was involved with Bob Jones University. I think he went to Bob Jones University, hailed Bob Jones as a great man, and so on, which, again, we know that Bob Jones very racist in issues that went on there at the university. And then there's also been reports of abuse and so on coming from. So all this stuff, we'll get the scandal and so on out of the way, just simply because scandal doesn't mean heresy. Scandal doesn't mean false teachers. Scandal doesn't really mean anything other than scandal. And so, again, that's what we deal with that. The reality is there's a lot of bad teaching and bad theology that goes on in the International House of Prayer. So that's what we want to focus on. I'd like to just push the scandal and stuff out of the way because, I mean, even good churches, I mean, John MacArthur and other solid, good, foundational churches have scandal. There are things that happen that are, unfortunate. Pastors early on or even late on in their ministry can tend to handle those things incorrectly. So, again, scandal does not mean heresy. Heresy is what makes heresy. So let's look at those things that Bob has that we would consider heresy. So looking at an article from CARM, which is Christian Apologetics Research Ministry, which is the what's the word I'm looking for? Ministry of Matt Slick, who is just some amazing stuff. So a lot of the big stuff that goes on in IHOP is emotionalism, mysticism, Gnosticism. So you get a lot of kind of word faith kind of things where it's name it and claim it, which is not technically, it's not biblical. It's not a biblical thing. God isn't controlled by our desire, our declarations. None of this stuff, name it and claim it. Now, maybe if You might find somebody who's named something and said this, and it's happened to fall in God's will, and it happened. But it is not that we declare something and God is bound by our declaration. So the word faith, kind of formulaic, name it and claim it, blab it and grab it, whatever you want to call it, is not biblical. It's literally what they're teaching people to put God God is obligated to them. God is obligated. I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine one time. I haven't talked to him in years. I think we're still friends on Facebook, but I don't know that he ever interacts with anything I do. But we were on the phone, and it was after he had lost his wife, had left him, and he hadn't seen his daughter in a while, and all this stuff. And we were talking, and I'm trying to minister to him, and he made the comment to me. He said, "God owes me." And I was like, "Whoa, wait." Where do you find anywhere scripturally that God owes you anything? One of the greatest lines in one of Shai Linne's song, and I can't remember the name of the song off the top of my head or even which song it is, but I know there's a line in there that says, God is never obligated to be gracious. God is who God is, and God will do what God's going to do. God is sovereign. Our God is in the heavens, and he does as he pleases. So we do not in any way, shape, or form ever get to put God into our debt. Never do we ever get to put God into an obligation to us because we have done something else. Again, this is why we look at, and I talked about, I want to say in one of my recent videos, the fact that the covenant that is made between God and Abraham is a one-sided covenant. It's not that Abraham was required to do anything. God caused Abraham to fall asleep, and God walked in between the portions of the animals. So God said, I am doing all of this on my own. The same thing with Christ. The covenant that we have with Christ is not based upon anything that we do. It is a one-sided covenant that he has made with us that we just get to enter into through repentance and faith through God's sovereignty, the doctrine of election. Right? So again, we never do that. So there's the word faith, name it and claim it type of prayer is the first thing. But then the second thing that is very, I'm gonna say it's heretical. I'm gonna go ahead and say contemplative prayer, centered prayer, any of these things is actually heretical because it actually goes against what Jesus said when he talks about and teaching us how to pray. He says vain repetition is what the pagans do. But contemplative prayer, centering prayer, the whole concept is you just kind of repeat one word over and over and over and over, and you're trying to get God to, God speak to me kind of thing, right? And so it's this Gnostic, mystic, just weird. I mean, really, when you break it down, it's pagan. It's witchcraft is what it truly is. When you really break it down and you compare it with what witchcraft actually is, that's what centering prayer, contemplative prayer is. And again, I don't see anything wrong with 24/7 prayer, that kind of thing. But really, I mean, how repetitive does it get? And again, you look at Jesus where he says, don't be repetitive like the pagans are. God wants you to come with him with specifics and so on. And I don't want to say originality because that just sounds too hippie. But yeah, I mean, God doesn't just want you to repeat. It's not formulaic. There's nothing scriptural that says we have to be formulaic in our prayers. I mean, yeah, he gives us the Lord's Prayer, our Father who art in heaven, and we can look at that and we can pull principles out and we can say, come up with our different little acronyms, CAST, confession, adoration, supplication, and thanksgiving, or however you want to, break that down. But we don't have to be formulaic. It doesn't have to be the Lord's Prayer, but we incorporate those things into it. So when you break that down, and then there's the whole issue of false prophecy and so on. There's a video clip out there where Mike actually says, dealing with the Kansas City prophets and even into IHOP and so on, that 80% of the prophecies that are given are not right, are not true, are fake. And he says, but the other 20% are true. And so but it's like, no, biblically, we don't deal with false prophets. If you have a false prophet, if you presume to speak in the name of the Lord and that thing does not come to pass, you're in a very difficult spot. Biblically, I mean, we don't stone prophets anymore as Christians, but that was the thing that was done. Those people were put to death for presuming to speak in the name of the Lord when they didn't. So why would we encourage people, well, just give what you think is prophecy, and if it's true, okay, if it's not, well, whatever. No, it's a very serious thing to, it's blasphemous to proclaim you're speaking in the name of the Lord when you're not. So those are the things that would look at and make Mike Bickle a false teacher and qualify him for this list of false teachers of the week. And that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it off now and finish up with this video so I can get it posted and to you guys in 15 minutes. That's what we try to keep it at. So thank you guys for taking a look at this, for watching, for giving your time to listen to a crazy old man like me talk about false teachers and so on. So now is a good time. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you found it helpful, leave me a comment, question, snide remark. I'll take all the smoke. I'm down for that. I've had a lot of people, one guy that just keeps coming at me recently defending Greg Locke, and I'm like, you know what? Just keep making comments because the video gets more circulation because of that. So leave me a comment, question, snide remark, whatever. I'll take all the smoke, and thank you for taking time out to watch. And as always, preach the gospel at all times. Use words. They're necessary. Until next time, Soli Deo Gloria.